Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of my series, How to Do It All. And we talked over the last 3 installments about some of the changes that I've been able to make in my life, despite not being naturally very organized and disciplined, and some of the reasons that I think that I have something to offer you. And now I want to start getting into some of those actual offerings. So we've established that our quest to do it all does not actually mean all, not literally all. Since it doesn't mean that, then what does it mean? What exactly should we be shooting for, and how do we determine what that is? In a way, the answer is simple. What is it that you want? That will tell you which goals are important to you and what you should be focused on. Sounds super simple. However, in another way, it's not simple at all, of course. How exactly do we decide what we want most? If you're like me, there are an awful lot of things you would really like to do. Desires you have, dreams that you harbor. Which ones are actually most important? Also, our wishes and hopes aren't exactly static things. What I value most on Monday may have moved to a completely different position on my list on Tuesday. There's one word that encompasses the process by which we choose which things are the most important to us, and that is priorities. Our actions will always follow our priorities. The key is to make sure we are choosing our priorities rather than just letting them float in and out of our lives willy-nilly. If I'm intentional with my priorities, then my desire to be diligent in my goal of, say, writing my next book will just shift into a desire to sit on the couch for an hour and watch Sherlock. And allowing that shift to happen on its own is not going to get my book written. But that is just the natural way that it goes, which is why we have to, like I said, be intentional with what those priorities are. If, however, I can remain focused on the fact that my deeper desire is to write my book, then that can take precedence over my desire to do what is easier and just sit around and be entertained. Remember the principle about letting every action cast a vote for the kind of person you want to be? So that's going to come in handy with what we're going to talk about here. About a year ago, well, it's really more like 2 years now, when I decided to start improving how I use my time, I had to sit down and actively prioritize. So I came up with a list of things, just sort of general basic things that are important to me. So this will be my personal list. Number 1, God, family, health, writing, my home, reading, knitting and crochet, coloring, and music. So more or less, that's the order in which I would prioritize those things, which means that if I have limited time, which we all do to a certain extent, then the things on top of the list are going to be prioritized above the things lower down on the list. So I took that list and I broke it down into more specific, more quantifiable goals instead of those sort of generalizations. So here are some of the things that just personally, as an example, I came up with. Spend time in Bible reading and prayer daily. Don't do writing or business related things outside of the kids' nap time and bedtime, because the kids and my husband's needs tend to shift a lot. So there aren't as many hard and fast goals in the area of family, but this is one of them. Not working when the kids are up and about is an important one for me, making sure that I'm really available to them. So that went in the realm of family for me. Lose 45 pounds and exercise daily. And this goal can also change somewhat as my needs change, but that's what I started out with back when I was sort of getting into this prioritization. Another goal is to do at least some writing and promotion daily. Again, more specific goals will vary over time, but I remain intentional about setting those goals. Another one for me was to keep up with a specific small list of daily and weekly chores around the house. Another one, to read daily and to read at least 50 books a year. Also, to do at least some creating with yarn daily, whether that be knitting or crochet. I personally like both. And then to color daily was another one of mine. I didn't bother to create a goal for music because I could already tell that that was something that was just going to have to be pushed off of my priority list for this specific season of life. And I'll talk more about that a little bit in a later episode. But as you can see, while the individual goals are not too crazy, when you look at them all at once, it looks like a lot. It's a lot of things to try to implement, especially when most of them are daily goals. And taken all at once, it really would be too much to try to do. Which is why it's important to try to start, it's important to not try to start it all at once. Again, I'll talk more about that in a later episode. But in the meantime, I had a list of what things were actually important to my life and some ways that I felt that I could improve in valuable ways in each area. And that, my friends, is the first step. Just taking the time to form those list of priorities and not worrying about being overwhelmed by them right now, not worrying how you're going to implement them, but just sitting down, first going through those basic sort of overviews of what your priorities are, and then going through the more quantifiable goals that you are interested in reaching in each of them. Again, not planning how you're going to do it, not getting caught up in the specifics of how to accomplish those things, but just getting them down on paper so that you can find out what your all is, what the all that you want to be accomplishing in your life, in this season of life is. So for your assignment, if you're interested in an assignment, is to ask yourself, do you know which areas of your life are most important to you? What goals or hobbies are you most interested in? What would you like to achieve? And can you rank those desires? That's another important thing, because if you don't have them ranked, if you don't have some kind of levels of importance, then you won't know which ones, to focus on first and which ones are going to have to get bumped off the list, like I said, for a season. And I know that it feels overwhelming. It felt overwhelming to me too, looking at the things that I wanted to accomplish, but you don't have to overthink it. Like I said, don't worry about next steps, not right now. Just take a deep breath, inhale, exhale, grab some paper or start a note on your phone if that's more your style, and make a list of your priorities, like I said, from greatest to least. Just start with whatever comes into your head. Just brainstorm. You can edit it later. This is not written in stone. Just get it out. And once you're happy with your list, look at it again and try to come up with, like I said, some quantifiable goals in each area. It can be big or small, as long as it's something that you can check off a list, something that you can say whether you've met the goal or not met the goal. And again, just go with your initial thoughts and remember that you can always change it later. Just make sure it's something that you really do want. That's very important in this. And next time we're going to talk about focusing on one area at a time, because like I said, it's going to be overwhelming if you try to look at it all at once. So we're going to focus on one area at a time so you can take those big, exciting goals and turn them into doable action steps. So in the meantime, I wish you all happy prioritizing, and I'm really excited for all of you because this has just been such an important step in my life and has really revolutionized how I spend my time and how I see being successful in my life, what I think that is, and how I am able to meet it. So thank you all so much for watching this episode. Next time, like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about breaking down those priorities that you've gotten into some things that you can actually do and focusing on one thing at a time. So I will look forward to sharing that with you next time, and thank you again for watching.